All right, welcome to USA Triathlon's National Triathlon Week, presented by Tower 26. Today is Wednesday. It's June 24th. It's officially the swim day. I'm Coach Jim Lubinski, 11-year triathlon coach, as well as 11-year professional triathlete, bringing you this session with probably my best friend in the world, founder of Tower 26, open water swim guru, co-host of the Tower 26 Be Race Ready podcast with myself, and newly acclaimed author on the New York Times. Are we on the New York Times bestseller list of triathlon swimming, mastering open water swimming with the Tower 26 triathlon method? Gerry Rodrigues, Coach Gerry Rodrigues. Coach, how you doing today?
How are you, Jim? Whatever list you say we're on is what we're on, because you are the voice.
We're the Batman and Robin of triathlon swimming. So who better to host USA Triathlon's National Triathlon Week Swim Day than Jim and Gerry. With us also is our COO of Tower 26, former Division I swimmer and coach at Tower 26 as well, Megan Melgard. Coach Megan, how you doing?
Great. How are you this morning, Jim?
Outstanding. You are producing this entire thing. Athletes are watching us on our Tower 26 Triathlon page, as well as the USA Triathlon page, the Time to Try page. I think every outlet on Facebook is bringing you this swim information. If you have questions throughout this show, make sure you're writing them in. At the end, we'll get to those. Megan will read those on air, and we will, we'll answer as many questions we can, swimming related or not. I know Gerry is an expert on all things life. So if you have a question about, how to deal with your significant other, Jerry's going to answer it.
You have called me a few times with that new baby.
Yeah, it's 4 a.m. How do I get this kid to sleep? I do have a 3-month-old baby, and she's a very good temperament, though, very happy baby. But Gerry is leading me through the process, having done it 2 times himself. But Gerry, this is exciting. We have a new book out. It's coming. It has a lot of information on triathlon swimming. There's not many books on this subject in the marketplace right now. But we know that you are, let's say, the guru of triathlon swimming. You've created a method that adheres and approaches triathlon swimming a way that not many other coaches have developed. So let's just start out. What's the book cover? Like what are some of the topics in the book that you have just written with Emma Kate Lidbury, your co-author? What are we going to go over in this book?
Well, Emma Kate was, a former professional triathlete that was part of our program at Tower 26 for several years, and subsequently moved to Boulder, Colorado, where she now works for Triathlete magazine and then Velo Press, which are the publishers of the book. So Emma Kate was perfect to have her as the author, 1 being a triathlete, and 2 being through our program. And in fact, she was a very good swimmer. But once she came to swim with us, it was sort of a whole new birth for her of what is open water swimming about, because it relates specifically to triathlon rather than just the type of pool swimming that she was used to. So she went through a few years of our methodology, and then having a background in journalism, Velo picked her up to actually author the book, because that is definitely not my skill set. We'll be writing. But the main thing, Jim, as you said, you asked what's the book about. I think there are a lot of very good books regarding swimming in the space over the years. But what I wanted to do was create a book specifically for triathlon swimming, because there's a whole lot of there's a plethora of information regarding the type of swimming one should do, and the information that's provided in the marketplace is effective and it's quite good, but some of it is not thick enough. For example, if a coach is a college coach or perhaps a master's swimming coach that didn't do triathlon, but they have a swimming background, well, their knowledge base is not specific to the triathlete's needs, because all of your races are done. Well, I shouldn't say all. 90-something% of your events are done in open water. So you have to have very, very specific preparation for your event, very, very specific training methodology, as opposed to coaches, Jim, as you know, and former swimmers, or I should say former swimmers, most of their events, 95% of their events are 5 minutes and shorter, and 85% of their events are 2 minutes and shorter. So the training protocols for those athletes are very, very different than the demands for the triathlete. So this book lays out, here are the very specific things to do for triathlon swimming.
Are there a couple main differences that you see pool swimming versus open water swimming? What do you see as some of those main differences besides? Well, you get into it. So we've done 75 episodes of our podcast. We're going to try and instill this entire 75 episodes into 30 minutes. So we got a lot to cover, Gerry.
Well, we also want to answer a lot of questions here, so let's make sure we have some time for that. But I think the main thing, Jim, is to recognize that you've got, when you look at swimming, you have how to train, what type of mechanics you should have. Should you be training alone, or should you have a coach? Do you have any accountability? What type of volume you're doing? Those types of things. So we cover all of those. But I think one of the key things is an example that you would get from, say, a swim coach, a very, very good swim coach, highly qualified, very decorated swim coach, would be to talk about a couple of things. One, that very long, placid stroke that's long and smooth and almost ketchup-like swimming. And then this thing called early vertical forearm that's become a very sexy topic. And all that means is that once the hand enters the water, you pop the elbow up to the surface as quickly as you can, early vertical. Once that hand enters the water and you extend, you just get that elbow up super, super high as quickly as possible. So those are two things you would see in typical swimming, but those don't work really well for the triathlete. So although they're accurate and good information, they're not for the triathlete audience. So good in one category, not good in this bucket. So there are two simple technical examples.
And there's just so much noise. There's so many different methodologies to follow by, and you've developed a program that isn't overwhelming regarding your progression into the season, but can you speak about some of the technique that Tower 26 promotes with their swimmers? What are the different technique stages that we go through as swimmers without overwhelming the athlete?
Well, as you know, we go through, and we talked about this in one of our episodes, we go through, our season has several phases to it. And we dedicate, in fact, at the very beginning, a recovery phase, which is typically after the Kona Ironman. We just use that as our cutoff. And then we go through the next several weeks, almost 10 to 12 weeks of recovery, but technical work where we teach the foundation principles of triathlon swimming, which, as an example, early vertical forearm would not be one of them. A vertical forearm would be, but not an early vertical forearm. It's not necessary for triathletes. So we go through that, and then we go into our foundation phase, which many coaches or athletes would call their training phase, their build phase, their endurance phase. We just happen to call it our foundation phase. Then we do a little bit of sharpening, and then we go into some specific open water skill building, because all of those tools that you need for the swim segment of your race, sighting, race takeout speed, being able to be familiar with the discomfort of being in a tight pack, all the things that occur, buoy turns, all those steps. That's not part of traditional swimming. So we have to teach those skills and build that into our training protocol. So that's what we do in our skill building phase. And then we wrap the season, which is the biggest phase of our program, which is our ready phase, 3 or 4 months long, where we integrate everything we've done for the year.
And I mean, that's where it gets fun. We go through our technical phase, we go through our foundation phase. When we get to those open water skill building, we're actually working on all of those skills in the pool. We're working on our sighting, we're working on drafting, we're working on your favorite deck ups. We're working on, swimming in close quarters in the pool, which might seem uncomfortable to a lot of athletes. Like, I'm not going to go in there and swim on somebody's feet for 1,000 yards or 1,000 meters, but that's the kind of stuff we do. So then when we go to the open water, we're ready and prepared. We're sighting every 4 to 6 strokes in the pool. So we go in the open water, we're sighting every 4 to 6 strokes, and we're no stranger to it.
Right. It's built in. You've done this. And in fact, as you know, Jim, during that open water skill building phase and our race ready phase, there is sighting built into every single pool workout, not just open water workout, every pool workout. And then that gets exported to open water, obviously. So it becomes second nature. You don't even have to think about it, to your point, every 6th stroke in sighting.
And that kind of brings me to the next point. You have 4 essential ingredients to becoming a better triathlon swimmer. If we're going to cover those, what are those 4 essential ingredients that you'd say athletes need to adhere to become better triathlon swimmers?
Well, I think there are a number of things, but we try to simplify because many athletes come into the sport. Some are sort of the one and done athlete. They're there for just a few months. The athletes that obviously most coaches prefer are the ones who are going to make this a lifestyle and make triathlon part of their general fitness goal. So if that's your plan, then you have to be efficient with your time, correct? As we've done.
We only have so much time in the day, for sure.
Yeah. So we need to go through, we try to simplify these things. So we put into place these 4 key boulders, so to speak, 4 key elements. One, we've got to improve swimming mechanics, okay? For most athletes, there's going to be a need for a bump in training volume because many athletes underswim. They don't spend enough time swimming or their sessions are too short. 3, and this is in no particular order. In fact, the order depends on where you are in the progression of your swim career, your triathlon swimming. 3, you need to have the right training prescription. Not just doing any type of swimming is the most effective. And then 4, you need some form of accountability. And I think if you could hit all 4 of those pieces, then you're going to have you'll optimize your opportunity for the best performance given your time budget.
And I think that's where what you've developed is so key, because the prescription that you're giving is built for open water swimming. Because you always say it, what's the exact data that you say? Pool swims are all less than 5 minutes, whereas a half Ironman swim, the shortest distance that we go is 20 minutes, 25 minutes, 30 minutes. It takes a different prescription, 2 different athletes.
Right, and when you think of swimming in the terms of what traditional swimming has been, especially for elite level swimmers and the coaches that prepare them for their events, those guys and girls, in fact, let's go back a long time to my career as a former competitive swimmer. We swam 20 plus hours a week. Many Ironman athletes don't train 20 hours a week for swim, bike, and run. We did 20 hours a week or more of just swimming. So most coaches' sort of mindset and methodology on coaching themes are based around a big abundance of training hours available to dispense to the athlete. Well, now the athlete only has, when you really think about it, many triathletes, they're going to spend a couple hours a week swimming. So how do we take all of this information and distill it down to the most important ingredients that are necessary for a triathlete, not for a swimmer? It's different. Because most of those swimmers are swimming, they're going to compete, they're going to swim 100, 200, 500-yard freestyle, or 100 meters, 200 meters, whatever it may be. Again, short events. So we have longer events in a different foreign environment that's very dynamic, and then a skill set that's an additional skill set that's needed that you don't need for the pool, such as sighting, race takeout speed, all the variables we talked about.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of good coaches out there that are coaching this, but there's a lot of triathletes who have to get in the pool and want to swim with a group, and they're doing masters swimming where they're working on a lot of those pool specific workouts that coaches are used to getting, and which you've developed. What we've actually developed, the coaching.tower26.com, is a subscription plan where we share all the workouts that we do in the Palisades. With that, we have audio, we have video elements. So it's kind of cool that athletes can follow along wherever they're at in the world. I mean, we have subscribers to that plan in, 50, 60 different countries. Right.
Well, trying to guide, participants to optimize performance in, the most succinct way. So their time is well spent and you reap the greatest rewards.
Yeah. And, you saw an opportunity to help a lot of athletes, and we moved on it, and it actually led to a lot of improvements in open water swimming. And that's kind of bringing me to our next point is, we're coming out of a tough situation where there has been no swimming for 3 months. People are we're just getting back into the water. Where should any of these athletes start? If they're just saying, I haven't swum in 3 months, what am I supposed to do? What's your recommendation?
This is an unusual period of time. I've swum for 51 years now. From the time I was, a little kid.
Was that? Well, I mean, you can't be more than 50. I was thinking you were 42 years old, but
you're very kind.
Yeah.
So I cannot recall a period in my lifetime where I've not been, where I've been away from the swimming pool for more than a week, and we've now gone through, at least in Los Angeles, 12 weeks. without facilities being open. In fact, our facility is going to open, one of the facilities we use, on July 1st. So we're going to be great longer than 12 weeks. So many athletes throughout the US and even worldwide, facilities have been closed, and even bodies of open water have been closed. It's been no exposure or opportunity for swimming. So what do we do here? Well, we keep it really simple and we start super easy. There is no need to rush back into any sort of heavy training. One, because there are no races. The calendar is still closed, correct? And,
right.
and the virtual events that are available are just bike run events. So let's be prudent and be smart and ease back in very, very gradually. Now, some athletes may have opportunity for pool swim, so pool training. Some athletes may have opportunity only for open water, and some obviously may have both. So if you have pool only, well, then that's your choice. If you have open water only, we have to be very, very careful. And then if you have both, I would suggest you start in the pool first, because you haven't swum for a dozen weeks or so. So let's get back to the pool, much safer environment, and start off the progression very gently. And this is one of the few times, Jim, as you know this, we don't prescribe continuous swims. It's just not part of doing a 30-minute swim or a 40-minute swim without stopping. That's sort of a no-no at Tower 26, because in my mind, that does not optimize opportunity if you only have 2 hours a week, that is not the most optimal way to spend your time. But given that one hasn't swum for 12 weeks, starting off with a nice, easy 30-minute cruise swim is plenty fine for this time, in what we're in the pandemic.
So you always use the term high value session versus a low value session. Right now, that's a low value session, and use that low value session to get moving again, right? What if these athletes, especially in Southern California where we're at, or anywhere in the country, the pools are closed, open water is still accessible. What are some precautions, if you're not comfortable in open water, what are some precautions that these athletes have to take before just getting out there and swimming?
Well, I think we have to be careful. So it depends on the ability level of the athlete. So a few things for sure. It would be essential to have a buddy, a partner that you can swim with. I think it's also important, if you're relatively new to the sport or you haven't done a lot of swimming and you're going to actually go out into open water, you have that buddy and you have one of those buoys that I have not worn one personally, but you clip them around the waist, and it's a big orange, different colors, but mainly orange floatable devices. And that way you can keep even a phone in there for emergency purposes. So some safety device, I think, is necessary if you have no experience in open water and you're completely unfit. That and a buddy. Safety always first, always.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you always have to be on guard. And I say this on the bike, I say it on the run, the swim. It could be the flattest day. A wave could come out of nowhere and just crush you. So you always have to be aware of your surroundings. And
for athletes who have exposure to the ocean, not just a lake, those conditions can be treacherous. As you know, Jim, just a month ago, we had that gentleman sitting very close to Tower 26 where we work out, the wrestler, right? The professional wrestler that drowned. He was out with his son and another friend, and
big, strong guy. I mean, he's 7 feet tall, 350 pounds, and all hulking muscle, and the water had its way with him. So you just always have to, just watch your back and just respect the water for what it is. Now, what if athletes know there's no access to pool? What should these athletes be doing to keep that swim muscle memory going?
Well, you always want to have, some specific muscle being touched upon if you can. So if there's no water access whatsoever, you don't even have a friend's pool that you can go to, you don't have an endless pool or the different types of stationary pools, then we need to do some form of specific strength training if possible, whether it's a trainer. Rob is the owner of Vasa Trainer. That's a place you can go to and purchase one of those items. I think it's vasatrainer.com. Or what we do, obviously, because it's easier and it's a little less expensive, is to just buy a pair of stretch cords and utilize those.
So that's what I have here up on the screen.
Oh, good. Perfect.
Can you see that? So look at that model. Who is that guy? That is a good looking model.
It's a long time ago.
It was like last week. So this is the stretch cords right here. That's what you get. What are they? About $30. You can get them on Amazon. You can go to tower26.com. We have the link there. And this is kind of how you execute our stretch cord routine. You want to run the athlete through it here, Gerry?
Right. If you notice, this is how we start or set up the position to start the execution of the swim stroke. You want to make sure there's some tension on the quads, and notice that the fingertips are pointed to the ground, and they're not and the arms are not extended all the way forward. This is our start position as opposed to how you would normally have your arms fully extended. And so fingertips are down. There's a straight line from your elbow to your fingertip. The wrist is not bent, so we don't want any sort of wrist flexion. We'll have that wrist straight. Elbows are pointed out to the sides, and you have about a 120-degree bend, and that's the beginning, how we get ready for the setup of the stroke. This is the beginning phase of the swim stroke. Everything's set up correctly. Tension in the hands, fingertips pointed to the bottom, elbows pointed out to the sides, and now we're going to get ready and execute the power phase of the stroke. Oh, you got them in slow motion. Perfect. Fingertips always stay to the bottom. And if you notice, those fingertips stayed pointed to the bottom the entire execution, all the way through. And I'm not sure if you can rewind that. Yeah, there we are, sort of the middle of it. Fingertips are still pointed all the way to the ground. And what typically happens is that folks, their hands start bending backwards as they go towards the end of the stroke. And you always want to keep those fingertips pointed to the bottom. That way you can have the surface area of your hand is pushing water straight back. So we do this during.
And finishing the stroke there too. You get a lot of athletes who get a little lazy and don't fully extend that arm, get that tricep extension, right?
Yep. And that last part of the stroke, it's all tricep extension, to your point.
So pushing that water all the way through.
Yeah, so you have your knees slightly bent, your upper body's parallel to the floor, and then you just come back to the start position again. And of course, Jim, you can do these as single arm drills, or you can do it, in this case, the demonstration is done as a double arm.
Yeah, I do them from a push-up position. You know,
of course.
That's me, while I'm doing push-ups. So that's wrong, what you just did there. So that's where a lot of athletes just starting out will take it.
We don't need to extend all the way forward.
Yeah. So you want to keep the tension on there and start with those fingertips down.
Yeah. I noticed there you go. Oh, this is a good view from the head-on view.
There you go.
There it is. Flare out past the hips. Hands are very close to the hips, and then extend all the way backwards.
Okay. So let's see if you speed it up here so they can see what it's like sped up a little bit. There you go.
And then you accelerate through the stroke.
Yep. So what would you say? That's fast right there. Oh, look at that. Throwing those curveballs in there.
Yeah, single strokes.
So what would you say would be a good starting routine for someone who just orders stretch cords? They say, hey, I like the way Gerry looks doing this. What would you say is a good starting routine for someone to do their stretch cords?
I think what would be helpful if, I think we have that video up free on YouTube, I believe.
Yeah, that's where I got it. On
Okay,
YouTube,
good.
Tower 26 channel on YouTube.
Okay, so since it's free, I would get that video, I would review it carefully, then I would get your friend or significant other to video record you doing it. So you want to then have a view of what you're doing and then be able to compare it to how it should be done, or to make sure you're doing it correctly. And then we'd start easy. A set of 30 reps, that's all. And this is one rep. Both arms would be one rep. If you're doing single arms, it would be 60 singles or 30 doubles. That's all you need to do continuously. Take a break, 30 seconds to a minute or so, and just do that 3 times. So you're doing 90 reps, a total of about close to 100 reps, breaking it into 3 sets of 30. That might take you 5 minutes at the most, but that's all you need. And if you did that correctly, where that arm is elevated and the wrist stays firm, you're going to feel that right here in the lats and the shoulders and the triceps.
Oh yeah, I know.
When 3 or 4 days.
After I do it, I go around and have my wife feel my back and my triceps and say, "Babe, feel how hard this is. I'm jacked."
Feel your guns, huh?
Feel the guns, feel the pythons, feel those pipes back here. You definitely feel it. But having that specific muscular endurance, if you're not in the pool, it's vital. When you get back in the pool, you're losing as least amount as you could be losing. So
all right. Well, we've run through a lot of time here. Should we see if there are any questions?
Yeah, if Meg wants to pipe in, we can unmute her and see if we've got anything on Facebook for questions.
Sorry about that, Meg. We got going here, chatting away, and I realized a lot of time went by.
Well, here's the thing. If you want to look into it, go read Gerry's book, Triathlon Swimming, Mastering the Open Water Swim Technique with the Tower 26 Method. It's on Amazon. It's on velonews.com. And you can listen to our podcast, 75 episodes.
I think the podcast would be a good place to have people start with, because we go through episode by episode of the things we talked about in these first 20 minutes.
Absolutely, yes. And we put the YouTube link in the chat. One question that we do have about the stretch cords specifically, what color stretch cords or resistance level should one purchase?
I think we should start with an easy resistance first. And the ones that I were using there were yellows, and that's a much easier resistance. And if you're some strong guy or girl and it's too easy, all you need to do is take a foot step further back from the insertion point. So the easiest color is fine to start with. And at some point, several months down the line, you could graduate into the next color, which is, I believe, is red or green. I think it's red.
Yeah, I've used the red, and I'm not the smallest guy. I got some strength back here, and the yellows are perfectly fine. So
yeah.
Yep.
I use the yellow ones.
Yep.
Excellent. So another question here from George: for a frequent swimmer with poor technique, how much time should one spend on drills versus endurance workouts?
It's a wonderful question, and it's not an easy answer, because those are two things that step in tandem. And in his case, I think he identified himself as a already a decent swimmer.
Frequent swimmer with poor technique.
So if you're a frequent enough swimmer where you've built enough specific muscular endurance, then you're going to have to sprinkle in a bit more technical opportunities in your training sessions. You can either get a technical coach to help you review your mechanics through a swimming lesson or whatever it may be, a video resource opportunity, and get that reviewed. And then within let's say you're swimming for an hour, you should probably spend at least 20 minutes completely dedicated to fixing your issues. And then as you go through your workout, you're always very mindful of what those issues are. But doing sessions of all technique, that's not the best spent time.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Like, you're a big, proponent of integrating the technique work into your actual swimming and doing that actual swimming with that mindfulness, as opposed to just drilling.
Well, yes, you become a good driller, and you don't become a good swimmer, and that's not the purpose.
So next up, let's talk a little bit more about starting in open water. And Gerry, you talked about an easy 30 minutes to begin with. How would one react over the first 3 weeks or so, getting back into the water?
How would one
progress
that
for 3 weeks? Yeah.
And if that's only open water?
Only open water.
So I think if you have a couple of opportunities a week, say 30 to 45 minutes, and we're now beginning, and 12 weeks have gone by and you've had no swimming whatsoever, providing you have a decent skill set. If you don't have a decent skill set, I don't recommend going to open water. I think that's an absolute no-no. It's just not safe enough. So if you've decent swimming, have a reasonable skill set, and you're now starting off, I think your first 2 sessions, or even your first 3 sessions, given that you've done nothing for 12 weeks, 30 minutes continuous swims are plenty fine. And then you could start integrating a little bit more interval training. For example, if you had 30 minutes, you go 15 minutes of continuous easy swimming, and then you can do something along the lines of 100 strokes. So you count your arm strokes, 100 strokes at 70%, 30 strokes recovery easy. 100 strokes at 75%, 30 strokes easy. 100 strokes at 80%, 30 strokes easy. 100 strokes at 85%, 30 strokes easy. So that was 4 reps, 70, 75, 80, 85% with 30 recovery strokes in between. You can bracket that and run through that 2 or 3 times and through another 15 minutes. So there's a little bit of interval training with some graduated heart rate being built in. And you can do an example or sort of a modification of that for the next 3 or 4 sessions. And then only towards the last 2 or 3 sessions, the last week of that 3-week cycle, then you would perhaps even put a little bit more intensity. But it's not really needed in the beginning. 80% effort, 85 at the absolute most by week 3 is as much high output that you should be doing. It's not necessary yet.
So Gerry,
Plus there's no racing.
We might have some athletes who are newer to swimming, and they might be saying, what the heck is he talking about, efforts? All I do is get in swim. What do you mean by efforts?
Well, if we want to go faster at swimming, biking, or running, there are two things that you have to do. Besides training, obviously, which is where the foundation comes from. But there are only two things you do to go faster. One, you have to be able to increase cadence, okay? So pedal faster, foot rate faster, or arm stroke rate faster on the swim. And then you have to apply more force, okay? Whether it's to the pedals, whether it's off the ground, whether it's to the water. So a higher application of force coupled with an increase in cadence rate delivers more, generally more propulsion for you in swimming. So by starting off easy, that would be sort of a 60% effort. And as you apply a little bit more force and a little higher cadence, heart rate goes up slightly. Elevate a little more, heart rate goes up again. So that's an example.
And you always say marry a pace to an effort.
Right.
Yeah.
You need to be able to the pace or the effort that you're putting out needs to represent a yield. What time am I swimming at? Am I swimming 2 minutes per 100, 1 minute and 45 seconds per 100? That's the yield. And then you have to know what that feels like. What does an 80% effort, if I swam 2 minutes per 100, what does it feel like? And once you start learning those feelings, that marriage of those two, and you learn those feelings, then you're able to then just apply a feeling, because you now know what 80% effort feels like, or 85% effort, or 70% effort. So you have to be very, very present.
That's great. Thank you, Gerry. So one question from Todd: if you have access to open water all year round, should you be swimming open water all year round?
So that's a no-no, and that's an easy no-no. Pool swimming gives you more opportunity for very specific types of training protocols that you can't do in open water. So the pool, if you do have access to a pool, that's where you build your foundation. That's where you can do all your skill building. You have a static environment, so you can learn proper sighting, build all the skills necessary in the pool, and then you would export those to open water. So in fact, if you had both, and let's say you swam 3 times a week, and you're doing a 12-week plan, getting ready for your race, you would swim twice a week. For the first 4 or 5 weeks, you do all pool sessions. And then as you lead up the last 8 to 10 weeks, you would have integrated at least 1 open water swim a week of the two training sessions you have.
Where's the best place to get all these wonderful workouts from you, Gerry? You really have been coaching for over 30 years, such great knowledge. Where can one train with you?
Well, Jim and I have those on, is it coaching.tower26.com? Megan, I know we've changed that. Is that the correct address? I'm sorry. Yeah, coaching.tower26.com. And that's our subscription coaching program where we have all of those. That's our online program. Of course, if you're local based in Los Angeles, we have our 2 locations. And you can just go to tower26.com and all that information's on there.
Plenty of workouts a week once those pools open back up.
Yeah. You know, this is sort of a topic that we can talk for a couple of hours on because there's so much nuance to it. But what I want to stress is that there's a plethora of information. And what we try to do is take all of that stuff and condense it down and keep it as simple as possible. So when you go to the swimming pool or you go to open water, you've just got 2 or 3 things to think about. That's it. That's sort of the methodology that I've tried to come up with after 37
your
years.
brain could just go nuts. It could explode with all the information out there. And if you go to the pool trying to focus on all of it, you get nowhere. So
we'll come in full circle, and I know we have to wrap up here, but you know, when I was writing the book with Emma Kate, the publisher gave us specific guidelines, and one of the chapters, it's my nemesis chapter, chapter 4, which is the chapter on technique. Well, I could have written 1 million words on technique because there's so much you can go through. And we had to trim that down to 6,000 words only on the technical elements for triathlon swimming. So we have to find a way to very much simplify it and make it easy for the reader to remember and therefore to be able to execute.
You could have just made it 5 words. Don't do what Jim does. That's it. 5 words. Why 6,000? Watch Jim. Don't do that.
For a professional hockey player and a guy that weighed 225 pounds at one time, you swim pretty darn well. You were just a man of, you must have had 2%, body fat when I met you. You were just a plate of muscles all over.
Hey, I'm still a plate of muscles. It just redirected the muscle, but it took a great, it took a great guru to change my physique. So my wife thanks you as well. She doesn't like that meathead look. She likes a nice, lean triathlete look. That's what it's all about. It's all about, right? Why we swim.
Well, I like the Hulk look too. That all the hair and
yeah, Lou Ferrigno. That's me. I'm going for the Lou Ferrigno haircut.
So Jim, I knew we were going to go through a couple more strength exercises, talking about those muscles. Do you think we could share after this video on our Facebook page some other strength exercises that folks can be doing at home for swimming specific?
Yeah, I mean, one of the keys to our technique is tautness, holding the body with good structure. So a lot of those exercises deal with that. Planks, plank to push-up position, bridges, supine work. So it's a lot of that intrinsic core work. But yeah, we'll definitely post some information on additional exercises athletes could do out of the pool to help work on that tautness. So when they get in the pool, they can hold that tautness, better than ever.
Excellent. And before we wrap, sorry, go ahead, Gerry.
I wanted to sort of even simplify this further down. If no one wanted to buy the book, no one wanted to go to the coaching thing, people think, this is not even worth my time, but I want to learn a little bit. I would suggest just going to our podcast and listening to, I think we have 2 or 3 podcasts. It'll take you an hour of your time. Listen to the technical podcast on tautness, alignment, and propulsion. That takes all the mechanics of swimming and breaks it down into just 3 simple steps. Taut body, like Jim was talking about, how to have an alignment frame, and then how to generate propulsion for swimming.
And a lot of you guys might be thinking, oh, a swim podcast. Who the heck would want to listen to a swim podcast? It must be the most boring thing ever. But Gerry, pound for pound, we're the #1 podcast in triathlon. So people are listening to this thing worldwide.
You've done a remarkable job, 161 countries or something.
Excellent, yes. So tower26.com/podcast. And we also put that link in the chat so that you can hear Gerry and Jim a little bit more, those buttery tones coming through the airways. So we have a grand prize for USA Triathlon Tri Week. And Jim, that involves both your triathlon training and Gerry, access to your swim subscription. So Jim, would you like to tell us a little bit more about that grand prize?
Yeah, so I'm not sure how we're giving the grand prize away, but what we are going to do is offer a year of personalized one-on-one coaching to the winner, as well as a year of our swim subscription program, which is Coach Gerry's swim coaching, as well as, what's the third part of that, Meg?
A signed copy of the book by both of you, of course.
Me, not me.
Of course.
Wait, which way is he? That way on my computer.
And then
I said that yesterday on the call that we had Monday, Gerry. I said, I'm going to sign the book. I got all these responses. I don't want your signature. Just send it with no signature if you're going to sign it. My mom said that to me. Uh-oh, he's getting going. Here comes the motor. Stay on here all day, guys.
Megan, this is why we have to put a limit on Jim. A governor on him. Otherwise, he would just motor away.
Yeah, but also our friends, to keep you training throughout this year, our friends at Amp Human are giving a year's worth of PR lotion to keep you going with the great training from Gerry and Jim. So
that was a big prize. Yeah.
Big prize, yes, the grand prize. So the winner will be picked from the virtual challenge competitive participant group, those folks that paid for the Tri package. So sign up for the virtual challenge competitive division and you'll be eligible for Tower 26 grand prize, as well as a bunch of other giveaways, including the book that we're giving away this week and throughout next week.
Hey, Megan, is that prize only if you sign up for the competitive division?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Sign up for the competitive division and get the Tri-Week package.
All right. Good.
Hey, I signed up for that. Am I eligible? What if I win?
Mark, you signed up. Your name's in the hat.
That's like my parents. Oh, okay. Last thing, my parents always tell a story when they had the church raffle all the time, and there's this huge grand prize, like a Cadillac. every single year is the same guy who won. The janitor of the school won the Cadillac every year. There's no Cadillac. There's this prize, though. This is guaranteed. I'm telling you.
Yes, well, it's great. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Gerry and Jim, you all are as amazing as usual. And follow us throughout the week. Jim, before we take off here, you want to let everyone know what's happening tomorrow and Friday for your live?
Yes. Tomorrow we will have a 30-minute virtual bike workout. So get on your trainer, 8:45 a.m. We'll be, or 8:45 a.m. Pacific time, depending on where you're at, that's going to vary. Get on your trainer, get ready to go. If you don't have Zwift, that's fine. I will lead you through the workout via Facebook. If you have Zwift, you can go into the companion app and sign up for the ride via the companion app. And we'll also have a Zoom link, or no, it'll be on Facebook. You'll follow along on Facebook as I lead you through the workout. So it's a coached virtual workout tomorrow, 9 a.m. Pacific time on the bike. Same thing on the run on Friday, 30-minute coached virtual workout. So tune in to Facebook, put in your headphones, and I will lead you through the run workout. Let's go ahead, Gerry.
What if someone doesn't have a Facebook account? Is there an opportunity for them to participate?
We will post the recording on YouTube on the Tower channel afterwards.
These are the things I stay up at night thinking about.
Who doesn't have Facebook? If you don't have Facebook, come on.
I have it, but I don't spend a lot of time on it. So I'm sure there are folks like me, the older generation, that that may not even have an account.
Get Facebook, sign up for an account. It'll be worth it. I'll make it worth your while. We'll go through a lot of technique stuff. You'll get a great workout, and be 30 to 40 minutes of a good session. So tune in to Facebook tomorrow, 9 a.m., Friday, 9 a.m. with your running shoes, and we will get after it.
Sounds great. All right. Well, enjoy Tri-Week, everyone. Tower26.com, training.tower26.com. You know where to find us.
All right, you guys. Thanks for listening in. Jim, Megan, thanks for helping, and look forward to meeting some of the audience out there at some point.
Yeah, right in for your signed book of Gerry's book. He's working that hand out so he can make all those signatures.
All right. Take care, guys.
All right, guys.
Bye-bye.